Kama wiki moja tena narudi nyumbani. Kama hii mambo na KBC unafuata ile vitabu tumepewa, unaona narudi nyuma kimasomo.
Sentiments echoed by parents here.
Ili mnaona darasa hapa ni za matope, kuna pengine wamesafektiwa na jigas. Lakini tunaona maendeleo inakuja kwa sababu CDF imeanza kujenga madarasa na hata UN Habitat wameanza kutusponsor. Kwa hivyo ni kama tu tumeonekana tu, lakini kuna challenges mingi zinakuanga.
Wasasi huwa tunaitishwa maji na maji tunatoa mbali. Hasa kama darasa kama haya inabidi mtoto, unaona, hasa inabidi msasi akuje ndio waweke ile tope warudishe, ndio mtoto at least awe na joto kwa darasa. Kuna wasasi unaweza kuta hana uwezo wa ile kununulia mtoto wake jacket, na haifai ati akiwa ndani ya darasa awe na jacket, inafaa awe na uniform. So inafaa darasa iwe ni darasa ambayo iko na joto, hata mtoto akiwa ndani hakuna baridi ambayo anasikia juu, hata akifunzwa na mwalimu pale hakuna kitu anasikia juu, anahisi baridi.
Area Member of Parliament Sarah Lekorere says the situation in Bombo is a reflection of many others in the region. High turnover of teachers in the area further affects learning and learning outcomes.
That is the situation of almost 90% of the schools in Sosian Ward. Sosian Ward was initially in Laikipia West. Then when they started Laikipia North, it was brought into Laikipia North. The classrooms are made of muddy walls, actually throughout the whole ward. I can count about 19 schools which are exactly like Bombo.
Water scarcity, lack of proper sanitation facilities, coupled with the COVID-19 pandemic, worsens matters here. Lekorere has, however, lauded efforts by Habitat for Humanity Kenya, a major partner especially in education in the region. The non-government organization has built 2 ECD classes, toilets, water harvesting gutters and storage facilities, while the Member of Parliament, through this Constituency Development Fund, has put up 3 classrooms.
We are trying to do modern classrooms, which of course will take us a lot of time, but we also thank our partners who have come in these areas of Laikipia, Mugogodo West. You also have the conservancies and the Friends in Conservation doing a wonderful job with us. You also have the Habitat for Humanity doing a wonderful job, and of course CDF. We are doing everything within our reach to make sure that we change the situation of education in this area.
It is a welcome relief for pupils.
Wakati wanafunzi walikuja hili darasa, unajua wewe wenyewe walisema wamefurahia. Nikamwambia unajua sasa mtakaa huku karibu miezi miwili alafu muende grade 1. Wakaniambia teacher hapana, si heri tukaekae, angalau tukaekae madarasa mapya ndio sisi tufurahie. Sasa ndio tuna hope kama kutakuwa na hiyo mpangilio wajenge, wakitoka hili darasa la mawe waende wakuta tena darasa lingine la mawe, watafurahia.
But as pupils here continue to work hard in pursuit of education, it is not lost on residents in Laikipia North that their children are confronted by major challenges that have greatly unleveled the education playing field. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News.
In Turkana County, the bodies of 3 children have been retrieved from a pit full of rainwater in Canaan village, Lodwa, at the county. The 3 children had gone to herd cattle when the tragedy occurred. Elsewhere, 2 bodies of young men have been retrieved from Thika River.
Canaan village, Lodwa, Turkana County. Grief as body of 3 innocent souls whose life was cut short were retrieved Sunday afternoon. The children who had gone to graze cattle in the morning drowned in a pit of rainwater as they were playing. The bodies were retrieved by members of the public.
Watoto ni 3 ambao waliingia ndani ya maji. Mmoja ako na takriban miaka 11, mwingine ni wa miaka 8, alafu kisha mwingine ni wa miaka 6.
Wakachukuliwa walikuwa watoto 3 na ni mandugu na baba mmoja.
Usibiwe hiki kidimbwi ama watafute njia nyingine ya kukisingira.
Elsewhere, Residents of Raburi village, Gatanga sub-county, retrieved 2 bodies of young men from Thika River.
Hata kwa hii Kenya, ni nani mshasikia hata wezi wenye wanakuanga kama Madheri walikuwa wezi hatari sana. Alirushwa na Madheri alikufa na pingu kweli? Hiyo kitu tunataka tujue. Chukue hatua juu vijana hawakuwa na vitu chochote walioshikwa nacho. Walishikwa bure wakiteka samaki na wakarushwa kwa maji. Na hakuna exhibit ambayo inaonekana walikuwa na hatia ya kuwekwa hata hizo pingu. Pili, wakati wa huyo jamaa huyo kijana kutolewa kwa maji, sisi wenyewe tulituma mtu ng'ambo na akaenda akadhibitisha akamwona akiwa na pingu. Mimi wenyewe nikamobilize watu waende mpaka ng'ambo hiyo, waende kwanza wapige picha kabla serikali kuingia. Serikali wakati ilipoingia mimi ndio nilikuwa nawaamulikia wampige picha. Nikauliza pingu na ziko, alikuwa na pingu kwa mkono ya left, ziko wapi?
The deceased were identified by their families as 21-year-old Nicholas Maithia and Asman Kamau, aged 18 years.
Akia watoto wetu. Juu watoto si wanyama, si umbwa. Polisi anafaa akishika mtu ampeleke polisi, si kumtupa kwa maji. Kwa maji si polisi.
Residents say they have been searching for the two for the past 1 week. Ruth Wamboi for Channel 1 Weekend.
Wow, are there the reigns of distraction? Is there anything we can do to avert what is happening in some parts of the country? In the upcoming by-elections, Nyanza Regional Commissioner Magu Mutindika has assured residents of Bonchari constituency of adequate security and peaceful elections during the Tuesday's by-elections. His sentiments were echoed separately by Kiambu County Commissioner Wilson Wanyanga, who said the security had been beefed in Juja constituency, Kiambu County, ahead of the parliamentary by-elections slated for next week.
It's all systems go for the Bonchari and Juja constituency by-elections, with the government assuring voters of enough security. Addressing the press at the Kisii County Commissioner's office in Kisii Town, Nyanza Regional Commissioner Magu Mutindika said the police had arrested and arraigned 3 people in court, and more will be arraigned on Monday.
So far, we have arrested about 3 people in Mbojari. In some of the areas, they have been taken to court. Others have not been taken to court. We are not going to allow Kenyans, more specifically the people of Mbojari, to be denied their voting right. We want the politicians who are involved to make sure that they are not involved in these evil activities. We will not allow, and we will make sure that whoever will try, we will make sure that they will not succeed.
He warned that the police will arrest people involved in election malpractices, including violence and voter bribery, to ensure law and order is maintained during the by-election period. Speaking separately in Kiambu after a security meeting, County Commissioner Wilson Wanyaga said they had information that a section of the aspirants had organized goons to disrupt the exercise.
Security coverage itakuwa ya kutosha katika kila kona ya constituency. Wajitokeze bila uoga, na nasema hivyo kwa sababu tumesikia ripoti mbalimbali kwamba kuna wengine wanapanga kuleta wale goons kutoka outside the constituency kuja kufuruga watu wa Juja constituency wakati wana exercise their rights, their democratic rights. Kwa hivyo hatuta wapatia nafasi.
If there are politicians who come and they want to move around, they are allowed, but they will not allow them to bring goons into Juja.
He also warned against groupings by voters, urging them to vote and await the results at home. Aspirants expressed confidence ahead of the elections, urging voters to remain peaceful.
Sasa leo tumemaliza campaign, watu wetu wakienda kura, wapige kura kwa usalama, kwa amani.
Na ombi langu ni kwamba fanye election kwa njia ya amani.
Tunataka nchi hii ni ya kidemokrasia. Watu wachaguliwe kwa sababu ataweza kutufanyia kazi.
Sisi wakazi wa Kiambaa ndio sisi wote pamoja tujue jinsi ambavyo tutakavyoijenga na kuipeleka Kiambaa yetu mbele.
People on the ground know what they need So let them have their freedom.
The race, which has attracted 11 contenders, was left vacant after the death of MP Francis Munywa alias Wakape, while the Bonchari constituency seat was left vacant following the death of MP Oro Oyoka earlier this year. For Channel 1 News, I'm Ben Troinjue.
In other news, a family in Kitale, Trans Nzoia County is crying for justice after their son was run over by a truck along Mombasa Road and left half paralyzed. They say the truck driver has never been arrested, despite the matter being reported at Earth River Police Station in Machakos County.
25-year-old Kevin Wafula was hit by a truck on November 17, 2020, along Mombasa Road while on his way back to work in Kitengela. Speaking at Sirende home in Kitale, Trans Nzoia County, Kevin's father, Stephen Simiu, says the family is seeking justice. Kevin's mother, Pamela Asosha, is worried that her son may never work again due to his condition.
Hasa sahi hata kujikimu hiyo maisha tumeshindwa. Maisha ya Kevo tena imekuwa ngumu. Sababu Kevo vile hako hivyo mwenyewe alikuwa anajitafutia. Sahi itabidi sisi wasasi wenyewe tumtafutie, tukimulisha, tukilisha hata bibi yake na watoto.
Kevin was treated at the Nairobi hospital where there is an outstanding bill of 13 million shillings.
Haki ifuatwe ili mtoto wangu akaweze kugharamiwa, ili mtoto wangu akaweze kulipiwa bili ya hospitali, kwa sababu mimi peke yangu siwezi.
A similar unpleasant situation is facing the family of Philomena Munyiva, who has been bedridden for over 3 years after she slid and fell from a lorry and became paralyzed.
Nilipoangaliwa ile sehemu yote, naona hii sehemu yote ilikuwa inafanyiwa operation, ndio imefanya operation 3. Daktari akaniambia kile kinaonekana sio senye siko hapo, sote simekufa.
The mother of two sold the only 6-acre piece of land so that she could get the first operation at Karira Mission Hospital after moving to Kirinyaga.
Baada ya kufanywa MRI, spine ilionekana iko na shinda. Nikaambiwa inafaa nifanywe nifanyiwe surgery.
She's now pleading with Kenyans to assist her get stem cell transplant in the second operation that is supposed to be done in India. Patricia Waidera for Channel 1 News.
To the country's COVID-19 update, some good news. The coronavirus positivity rate in the country was at 3.1% Sunday, an indication that Kenya was on the road to flattening its COVID-19 curve. The World Health Organization requires countries to work towards bringing the curve to below 5% for at least 2 weeks for them to be declared COVID-19 free. In the last 24 hours, Kenya recorded 86 new infections of the disease from 2,789 samples tested, the lowest in many months. From the cases, 84 are Kenyans, while 2 foreigners, and on Sunday 2 patients succumbed to COVID-19 disease, all of them having occurred on diverse dates within the last 1 month. A total of 3,003 people have so far died from the disease since March last year. Between Saturday and Sunday, 123 patients recovered from the disease, and 65 from various health facilities countrywide, while 58 from the home-based care and isolation. This pushes the recoveries rate to 113,612. A total of 1,030 patients are currently admitted to various health facilities countrywide, while 4,815 are under the home-based care. You're watching Channel 1 Weekend this Sunday night. Thank you so much for staying with us. We're taking our first commercial break right here. Don't go anywhere. We still have plenty more to come, including family matters. Tonight, we discuss matters hypertension as Kenya joins the world to mark Hypertension Day tomorrow. Stay tuned for that.
Je, umeomoka?
Kama hujaomoka kwenye QuickBin, ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353, alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka, kwenye QuickBin ni bidhaa bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini.
Did you know life is uncertain? Do not leave anything to chance. Protect the financial needs of your family in case you die or lose income due to terminal or critical illness. Take up a life insurance policy today to protect the financial future of your loved ones. Now you know. IRA, promoting insurance, protecting the insured.
Kupata skiza tune hii curfew, dial star 811 star 816 hash.
Wewe, nitarutisha simu yako tu sahi. Nakimbia mbio, nimetolewa mbio. Unajua curfew ile nipata kwa njia. Nimepita kwa ratibu kama risasi kuliko hata risasi mpio. Lakini sasa niko karibu nyumbani bwana. Nitakupiga nikifika nyumbani. Wewe unajua curfew sitaki polisi wanishike. Nitakupiga.
Ili kupata skiza tune hiyo ya curfew, dial star 811 star 816 hash. Star 811 star 816 hash.
Welcome back to Channel 1 Weekend. Byron Abule is our sign language interpreter tonight. A 10-year-old minor may not find justice following the untimely death of her defiler at the Kijipwa police station in Kilifi County. 65-year-old Ngoa Mwatela is alleged to have defiled the grade 1 girl not once but 7 times at his house in Vipingo, Kilifi County. Kilifi County Police Commander Nelson Taliti claims Mwatela committed suicide inside a police cell, prompting them to close the case. Now, our reporter June Karisa visited the close-knit family of 10 living in abject poverty and unfolds the series of events that have since left the family at crossroads.
The unfortunate week-long events of the first week of May this year will forever leave the family of 40-year-old Karembo Kombe down in the dumps. Tuesday, May 4th, was a dark day for the close-knit family of 10 residing in Vipingo, Kilifi County. By night that day, social media was abuzz with a viral video of a 65-year-old man who had defiled a 10-year-old and caught red-handed on the scene of crime. According to the witness account, on the 4-minute short clip, the defiler, Ngoa Mwatela, admitted to have committed the act after his neighbors exposed him. The questions that lingered to the minds of many were: how did the minor fall prey to the old fellow? How did she end up at the old man's house at night? And where were the grade 1 girl's parents? Our quest to unravel these puzzling questions led us to the victim's home in Mji Mkubwa, Vipingo. Here, we are met by her mother, Karembo Kombe, who welcomes us to her humble residence. A quick stock-taking to her home paints a picture of despair, one that she isn't ashamed of. Widowed 10 years ago, life has humbled the mother of 10, who currently shelters all her kids in this room. 2 of her sons have recently cleared their KCP examinations, scoring 373 and 352 respectively. However, they will be joining their siblings at home for failure to raise school fees. the hopeless state of affairs forcing her to let her kid sleep at well-wishers' houses. Little did she know that the decision will claim the innocence of her 8th born.
Anakwambia mimi nilikuwa nimeangalia TV, nilipomaliza kuangalia hiyo TV ndo nikaenda huko kwa huyo mzee na nikaenda nikamwambia nataka zile pesa zangu kwa sababu alikuwa ameniambia niende nikachukue. Sasa yule mzee wakati amemaliza kula akatuambia tuingie hapo ndani. Mimi nikaingia. Nilipoingia sasa yule mzee akanambia usumeingia wewe. Haya lala hapa kwenye godoro. Ukalala. Nikalala hapa kwenye godoro. Yule mzee akanivua ile suluwale.
After apprehending the defiler, police visited Karembo to give her side of the story.
Huyo mzee ameulizwa na polisi hapo hapo. Huyu mama unamjua? Akasema simjui. Sasa mimi nami nikasema huyu mzee simjui, na simjui kweli huyo mzee. Nimemwona hiyo siku. Mzee akiulizwa na polisi anasema basi mimi hata nikifatafata wazee wa kina mama kama huyu mamake atanitatiza, tafadhali huyu mtoto mdogo.
The next day's hospital results showed that the minor had been defiled not once but 7 times by the 65-year-old who constantly took advantage of her hunger, wooing her with food.
Unatamani kama inawezekana uko na kisu hapo karibu, yule mzee umfanyie hayo mabaya, kama ni kuenda kufungwa wewe na ukafungwe, lakini nikazulia roho. Yule mtoto kama yule wewe, unaweza kusema huyu mtoto akitoka huko nje kuna mtu ambaye anaweza kumwazira mabaya.
The 3rd day's effort to present the matter before the court proved futile following the untimely death of Mwatela while in police custody.
Ile shati yake alikuwa amevaa akawa ameweka kwa ile grill ziko pale. Mwanaka akilifu akajaribu kumresuscitate. So katika ile process akakufia huko.
The devastated mother will take her child home to face the stigmatization of the locals who felt she had abdicated her role as a parent.
Paka sahi wazazi wanzangu bado wananicheka. Hapa kijijini basi ninakanyaga tu kwa sababu nifanye nini, lakini yule mtoto akikaa hapa, yule mtoto na zile aibu zote sana weza akajua yule mtoto.
Justice may or may have not been served for the minor. However, the shame and guilt has torn the family apart.
Kama pengine kuna mtu ambaye atakuwa ana uwezo wa kuangalia pahali kwa kuweka hawa watoto wangu, huku kuzunguka kote hata mtoto akaonane na huko kushikwa. Si vile sina pahali kwa kuwaweka hawa watoto.
We are calling for the county government, we are calling for the national government to come up with mechanism or a clear mechanism that will be brought forth to address the issue of, hunger in this country.
She still has a very big burden. There is need that as society, as friends, we see how we can come up with a sustainable solution. If well-wishers can come forward, construct a house, a simple house for this family, God would definitely bless them.
Friends of Benkai are among well-wishers who have since sent the minor to a rescue center to start a new life, perhaps to put the past behind her. Rukia's misfortune explores the need for the society to empower underage girls who are seen as prey in their communities. This knowledge will go a mile to save a household, a village, a community, a county, and perhaps a country. Juni Karisa from Vipingo, Kilifi County.
Such an unfortunate report there from Mombasa County. Thank you so much, June, for that report. Let's stay in Mombasa. And tourist establishments in the coastal region have been urged to offer modest hotel rates to attract domestic tourists in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. The tourism industry remains the most hard-hit sector, suffering from few international visitors, hence the need to seek more local visitors to keep the sector afloat.
Hotels have continued to struggle to stay afloat amid the COVID-19 pandemic, although a number have closed down as they can no longer sustain themselves. In the wake of curfews and partial lockdowns, different travel and tour agencies have been working closely with stakeholders in the hotel industry to come up with stimulus packages to revive the business.
We have a way of negotiating with the hotel owners
to have the best rates for the locals. That's why we are pushing this thing to locals. We are pushing this agenda to locals so that at least we all feel the same.
One World Adventures Limited Chief Executive Officer Solomon Wao says through concerted effort by stakeholders, the sector can bounce back and help revive the local economy by stimulating job creation to spur development.
And that's why we came up with cultural tourism, whereby we want to put people together, locals together, to make sure that they feel the taste of whatever Kenya is having. Because Kenya is one unique country, like it's the destination for almost all tourists.
Travel consultant Charlotte Mwakidimi notes that they have to continuously come up with packages that attract the domestic markets if the sector is to survive the difficult times.
To thank the government, at least right now, the lockdowns have been removed. So right now we're just trying to think outside the box to see how we can tap into the local tourism and also engage other people in terms of entertainment, culture.
The tourism sector was allocated 6 billion shillings in the government's 2020 Comprehensive Rescue Package. For Channel 1 News Hour Weekend from Mombasa County, I am Ann Buru.
Elsewhere, a young man in Timau, Meru County has initiated a project that seeks to recycle waste bottles in a move to reduce environmental degradation. 21-year-old Sami Weru, who is a friend of the environment, occasionally collects bottles, including plastic bottles, from dump sites and later uses them to decorate walls and floors. Sami says so far he has managed to collect 10,000 bottles, even as he calls on the government to support his project.
Occasionally, Sami Weru pays visits to various nearby dump sites. These waste bottles that continue to threaten the environment, he says, can be put to good use.
Naenda Timau na chukua bottles kama 20 na pandisha nyumbani na mwaga na teremka tena na chukua bottles zingine hadi zikakuwa bottles za kutosha zenye nitaanzisha nazo hiyo project.
A visit to his home, one would come across this sort of art on walls and floors. He says it is decorative, while at the same time saves the environment from getting choked with waste bottles. But how did he come up with the idea?
Dangu Samburu anafanya biashara kidogo ya kuuza chips, na penye alikuwa napikia alikuwa amezingira tu na gunia. Then nikazunguka hiyo mahali nikapata kuna chupa mingi sana ziko huko zimetupwa. Kwa sababu niko na ile passion ya environment, nikafikiria venye naweza chukua hizo bottles nione kama naweza jenga nazo ka kitchen kidogo nikitumia matope. Nikafanya sample, nikajenga na ikakuwa kitchen mzuri sana, watu wakafurahia.
Being passionate about conserving the environment, it wasn't hard for him to implement his idea, though his family was a bit hesitant at the beginning.
Akakuja kijana akanikuta na shupa akiwa amebeba moja bagi kwa mgongo, ingine pande ya mbele. Nikastuka, nikamuuliza unafikiria haji? Mimi nikastuka zaidi sana, lakini kijana akaniambia ngojea tu mama, utaona vile nataka kufanya.
Kaniambia atajenga nyumba ya chupa, ameona tauni yao iko na chupa mingi za pombe zimemwaga huko. Atajenga nyumba ya chupa, nikamwambia ploti yangu ni kidogo sana, ni ya 20 by 8, utajenga wapi? Kaniambia nisijali, atajenga juu, atajenga chini, lakini haipandishe juu.
Other times natumia hizo vifuniko za bottles, natengeneza curtains ama mats, nauzia the community, then hizo pesa nabebesha nazo bottles na zileta nyumbani. So sasa hii project ime grow up such that nimerecycle over 10,000 bottles, bado sijapata kazi. Nimekuja kurealize the bottles zenye ziko flat unaweza tengeneza nazo tiles, unaweza tengeneza tiles za choo, unaweza tengeneza pavement na hizo bottles, and zinakuwa very beautiful. Juu kuna za different colors, kuna green, kuna blue.
His call to the government, however, is that youth need to be supported in their startup projects in order to enable them make a difference and feel appreciated as a bigger percentage continues to grapple with lack of employment opportunities. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
And a church in Sok Village, West Pokot County has disallowed its female members from attending their service during menstruation. The New Jerusalem Church neither permits couples to engage in any sexual acts. On the eve of the Saturday service, the church leaders say these acts are a form of uncleanness, hence unacceptable before God. At the Jerusalem Church in Sauk Village, West Pokot County, nothing impure will ever enter the church, nor will anyone who does what is shameful or deceitful. According to the church leadership, this means couples should not engage in any sexual acts on the eve of the Saturday service.
Ikifika wakati wa Jumamosi usiku hiyo, all these other things are prohibited. So mama na baba hawatakani maybe could do these other things because itakuwa Jumamosi. So hizo ndio masharti.
Women experiencing their monthly period are not welcome in this sanctuary either.
If you are a lady and you are in a monthly period, you are not allowed to come to attend the service. We observe cleanliness.
Before entering the church, you are required to remove your shoes, for this is a holy ground. Males and females are not supposed to use the same door as they enter the worship center.
Tunaimba wakati wa Jumamosi. So wakati unaingia, kuna 2 doors, kuna milango miwili, moja ni ya kina mama, ya left, and then ya right ni ya wanaume. Alafu unapoingia, unaingia ndani na unashirikiana na wale wengine.
The Jerusalem Church, including all its branches stretching from Pokot across Uganda, began in East Pokot after the 1950 Koloa massacre in Baringo as Pokot engaged colonial masters.
Mambo ya kuiba atakikani na watu watakuwa tulifu ukiingia hii kanisa. Hawezi iba. Watu hawezi kusema ati tuende tuchukue mali ya wengine kama kabila ingine.
Its operations had initially been banned by the government but saw its doors reopened in 2010 after the promulgation of the new constitution and now has over 50,000 congregants. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News. Herders from Turkana and Samburu communities living in Samburu North constituency have been warned against revenge attacks. Samburu County Commissioner Abdrisak Jaldesa at the same time said no incident of insecurity has been reported in Baragoi area for the past 10 days following enhanced surveillance by security apparatus.
At least 5 members of the Parliamentary Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities were at Baragoi town in Samburu North constituency to ascertain the state of insecurity in the area and how to come up with a lasting solution. The committee held a joint meeting with the county security team, herders and leaders from both Turkana and Samburu communities.
Security team wata enhance operation na wale wahalifu kwa sababu wanajulikana wakamatwe.
Elsewhere, 2 suspects are being held at Kingero Kabete police station in Kiambu County, while 6 others managed to escape a police operation to crack down on a gang allegedly impersonating Kenya Power and Lighting Company officials. The arrest follows an outcry from residents of Karacheni in Muguga Kabete who claim the rogue gang is behind theft of power poles, electric cables and street lights in the area.
Kawauliza mambo ya transformer na mataa imekujia wapi. Wakaanza sasa kuongea mambo ingine ndio hapo tukaitana.
And Migori residents have turned out in numbers to donate blood following acute shortage of blood in the county. The Okoa Maisha drive at Maranatha Faith Assembly Church is aimed at boosting Migori County's blood bank. Bishop John Abisai of Maranatha Faith Assembly Church says the initiative will be conducted every 4 months.
Anatoa mwito kwa makanisa yote, wapendwa, tusihubiri tu Injili, lakini tutoe damu kwa wanaohitaji damu. Kuna watu wamepata ajali, wengine ni kwa kujifungua, tuwasaidia na damu.
In Kakamega County, one of the 5 family members who died in the Bushiangala gold mine tragedy was laid to rest in Mukongolo, Ikolomani constituency. Family and friends eulogized James Atabachi as a peace-loving and responsible member of his family.
Ananiuliza, "Mom, baba ako wapi?" Namwambia kwa sanduku, anasema hapana, sijaona askari wakimweka.
Finally, Mira farmers from Meru County have asked the government to resolve the diplomatic row with Somalia, saying they are making huge losses following the frosty relationship between the two countries. The traders say they were optimistic diplomatic ties between Somalia and Kenya would offer them much needed relief, but the current situation is worsening their plight.
Nafanya kazi ya miraa, natuma Mombasa, tena mimi nafanya ile ya Somalia, lakini sasa hii tumeumia sana. Tumeumia sana. Na kama kuna watu wanaweza kuhudumiwa na serikali, kuhudumiwa na serikali ni watu wa Embe North na hata South. Maana sisi sasa ile biashara tulikuwa tunafanya, tumekuwa mashikini.
Banki imeconfirm pesa zimeingia. Congratulations Sam, gari ni lako sasa.
Shukran. Oi boss, si uniache insurance yako nitumie kabla nijipange.
We,
insurance ya gari haiwezi kuwa transferred kwa mtu mwingine.
Sina habari, na nikuulize, hii comprehensive insurance inakava vitu gani?
Comprehensive motor insurance inakava gari linapoharibika wakati wa ajali, pamoja na uharibifu wa mali ya mtu mwingine, gari likiibiwa au likichomeka. Pia inakava passenger wa gari lako na passenger wa lile gari lingine kunapotokea ajali.
Kwani umenisahau mimi kama driver?
Dereva hakui covered na comprehensive insurance, ila anajitafutia personal accident cover.
Umenichanua. Rose, acha nishughulikie hiyo insurance, nitakujia gari kesho.
Okay, sawa.
Yeah.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na IRA. IRA, bima bora kwa taifa.
It's now time for the sport, and Titus Ekiru this morning won the 2021 edition of the Milan Marathon in a time of 2 hours, 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Ekiru's winning time is a world lead for 2021 and the joint 5th fastest time in a marathon.
Having set the course record at the 2019 Milan Marathon, Titus Ekiru made a return to the Italian city to defend his title against a field that included two-time world champion Abel Kirui. Ekiru picked up the pace after 35 kilometers to win the event in a world-leading time of 2 hours, 2 minutes, 57 seconds. The time slashed 1 minute 49 seconds from his personal best and is the fastest time run on Italian soil and the fastest for a marathon run in May. Ekiru is now the joint 5th fastest marathon of all time, behind Eliud Kipchoge, Kenenisa Bekele, Birhanu Legese and Mosinet Geremiu. Ruben Kipyego Kiprop took second place in 2 hours, 3 minutes, 55 seconds, with Barnabas Kiptum third in 2 hours, 4 minutes, 17 seconds. The women's race was won by Ethiopian Gebremariam Hiwot in 2 hours, 19 minutes, 35 seconds. For KBC Channel 1 Sport, I am Daniel Wahome.
The International Olympic Committee and Tokyo Olympics Organizing Committee have now released the updated version of the playbook detailing the expectations by the Games organizers and the Japanese and Tokyo authorities from the athletes and officials who shall participate in the Olympics. The playbook provides additional information on various countermeasures to further support their planning and preparations.
Kenya's women volleyball team Malkia Strikers is the first in Team Kenya to be trained on the updated version of the playbook ahead of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games to begin on 23rd July. The team, which has been in a bubble low-altitude training camp in Mombasa for the last 2 days, were taken through the training which outlines every detail around which delegation to Tokyo must familiarize in order to successfully participate at the Olympics. Some of the countermeasures are the requirement for 2 COVID-19 tests on 2 separate days within 96 hours of the departure of a flight to Japan. Athletes will arrive at the Games Village only 5 days to the start of the event and will be expected to leave 48 hours after being knocked out or after the event's medal ceremony, whichever comes first. And shopping, visit to tourist areas and use of public transport is completely banned. The unique circumstances under which this year's postponed Olympic Games shall be celebrated has forced all those involved to go to extraordinary levels to ensure safe and secure games for the thousands of athletes from more than 200 nations.
Karim Nizigi-Mana's half-time strike sealed a 1-0 win for Gor Mahia against Nairobi City Stars in the Football Kenya Federation FKF Premier League match that was played today at Utalii grounds. Gor has now won 8 matches in 15 league matches it has played so far this season. In other matches or results, Mathare United settled for a barren draw against Vihiga United, while Sofapaka claimed a 2-0 win over Wazito FC. Batoto Bamungu netted late goals through Nixon Omondi and Lawrence Juma. After today's results, Gor Mahia now sits at the 6th position of the log with 25 points after playing 15 league matches, while Sofapaka is the 8th position with 22 points from 16 matches. We do apologize for the mix-up with our videos, and Ben Malango's second-half strike helped Morocco's Raja Casablanca settle for a 1-1 draw against South Africa's Orlando Pirates in a CAF Confederation first leg quarter-final match that was played today at Orlando Stadium. Vincent Pule had given the host the load before the equalizer. Tottenham boosted their hopes of qualifying for the Europa League with a comfortable 2-0 Premier League win over Wolves. Spurs, who are 5 points adrift of the top 4 place, leapfrog West Ham into 6th on goal difference, with Everton 3 points further back in the early kick-off encounter. Crystal Palace defeated Aston Villa 3-2.
Here's Harry Kane, and Kane is able to finish it off. The flag stays down, and just when Wolves had thought they'd done the hard work and seen it through to half-time, Harry Kane finds a way and scores for Spurs.
Oh, commentators curse like you would not believe.
Oh, Reguilon's got the better of Hervat. Can he play from the Spanish fullback? Now Son, now Bale. Rui Patricio to the rescue, but followed in by Højbjerg. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg for Tottenham, and they do have a second just past the hour mark.
Well, it's been coming.
And that's it for sports news tonight. Kings Mburu, thank you for tuning in. You are watching us from Kiambu County. Joseph, you are also tuned in tonight. And Lawi Kasale tuned in as usual. Thank you so much. at Spraga, you're saying that you are watching, and Owino also tuned in. Many thanks for watching. Now, there are about 1.13 billion people suffering from hypertension around the world. That's according to the World Health Organization. And hypertension or high blood pressure is common among men. 1 in every 4 men have hypertension, against 1 in every 5 women who are suffering from hypertension. And experts here in Kenya are raising concerns of increased cases of high blood pressure. Of course, this condition being linked to the lifestyle. So Kenya joins the world to mark Hypertension Day tomorrow, of course, with an emphasis on checking your blood pressure correctly for you to be able to control it. So tonight we talk about hypertension or high blood pressure. Let's get to know the facts, what this disease is and what are some of the predisposing factors. We speak with Dr. Milan Marathon, who is a physician and a heart disease expert. We also have a patient tonight here on the studio, and of course he will be sharing with us his experience, especially during COVID-19 pandemic times, where the people with underlying conditions are at risk of developing complications once or if infected with the disease. Use the hashtag Family Matters KBC. That discussion coming up shortly after this short break. But of course, before that, we have weather forecast. Stay tuned for that.
Good evening. I hope you're well. My name is Irene Mchuma Odem. Weatherman says in the next 24 hours there'll be a reduction of wet conditions over most parts of the country, but rainfall is expected over the highlands west and east of Rift Valley. But for tonight, most parts of the country have been covered with partly cloudy conditions. The capital and counties around the region will tonight experience wet conditions over a few places, but over the Lake Basin region and western sector, there will be showers accompanied by thunderstorms, and especially for areas around the lake. Tomorrow it will be a sunny day over the northern parts of the country, right from the morning hours towards the afternoon. For the capital, sunny intervals will characterize the morning hours. The Lake Basin region, it will mainly be sunny, but these rains will be experienced in Kericho, Kisumu, and Kitale. The coastal strip will experience scattered wet conditions, which will touch on Malindi and Mombasa. The southeastern lowlands will be sunny, and in the afternoon, these sunny conditions are expected to continue over most parts of the country, right from the northeastern to the southeastern lowlands. In the capital, there is a possibility of wet conditions during the afternoon hours. There will be showers also in counties around Nairobi. The coastal strip will experience scattered wet conditions, but Mombasa will be sunny during the afternoon hours. The Lake Basin region will largely experience showers accompanied by thunderstorms in the afternoon hours, and these will mainly affect Kisumu, Kakamega, Nyamira, Kisii, and also Kitale. The northwestern parts of the country will continue to experience sunny intervals. The highest temperatures across the country will be experienced in Mandera at 37 degrees Celsius. The capital will experience highs of 25, and tonight we're experiencing highs of 15 degrees Celsius. Up next is the international forecast. Do have a good night and a blessed week ahead.
Good evening, and on the show tonight we speak about hypertension as the world commemorates this day, Monday the 17th of May 2021, and this is an annual celebration to just raise awareness on this disease that could even pose a risk to some heart complications, liver, and even kidney. Welcome to this show, and my guests tonight, we have Dr. Milan Marathon, who is a physician. She will be telling us, talking more about what this disease is all about what are some of the treatment options and also the preventive measures and the cost effectiveness of hypertension in the country. And also on the show tonight, we have Stephen Morocco, who is a patient of hypertension, to share with us his experience as a patient. And of course, we know that people with underlying conditions have been on the spot, especially with the COVID-19 and also the cases of the comorbidities among these groups of people on the rise. So we also get to hear the fears that the patients have in the country. Once again, welcome to the show. And of course, Dr. Mora, it's good to have you as usual to this discussion tonight.
Thank you so much, Purity.
So welcome to the show, Stephen. It's also glad to have you with us here tonight.
Thank you. Good evening.
Okay, let's begin with you, Dr. Mora. Maybe we are celebrating this day. Is it an important day because it has been there have been concerns, especially on the people living with underlying conditions and COVID-19, and a lot of fear among this group of people. Probably as an expert, you'll be saying that it will not come at a better day, right?
Definitely, Purity. But again, let's not forget that we're not going to just celebrate on Monday. We have been commemorating the entire month. The month of May, the whole of it, is what we refer as the May Measurement Month, where we normally want to screen as many patients as possible to know their status about how their blood pressure is globally.
Yes. The World Health Organization estimates that there are about 1.13 billion people with hypertension. Maybe you can tell us how big of a problem is hypertension in Kenya?
Same picture. Remember, in Kenya right now and in Africa at large, we are experiencing an epidemiological shift, meaning our kind of diseases that we are dealing with initially, which were communicable diseases, including TB and malaria, and other infectious diseases, were the issue that we were dealing with in the 20th century and before that. But now we are seeing that these diseases are, the non-communicable diseases are shifting to our side now. We are seeing a rise in obesity and lifestyle-related diseases and cancers and respiratory illnesses. And majorly, cardiovascular diseases are contributing the biggest chunk of this rise in these NCDs. And now that describes the epidemiological shift we are seeing, and as Africans and as Kenyans, we are shifting our lifestyles, adopting and aping more of the Western kind of lifestyle. And these diseases are here with us now, and they are here to stay, and we have to really face the elephant in the room with us right now.
And there's a way we can, of course, prevent and protect ourselves from getting some of these diseases. Right, we'll be talking more about that. Let me speak with you, Morocco. Maybe you can share with us a little bit of your experience when you are diagnosed with hypertension, and what are some of the things that did you feel sick? What are some of the symptoms that you had before the doctors could say it's hypertension?
Well, thank you. I think I started with I became diabetic in 1998. And 3 years down the line, the high blood pressure was diagnosed with me. The symptoms were persistent headache. There was also loss in weight. The heart was beating a bit higher, and it was persistent heartbeats. And then I visited the doctor, and I was diagnosed with hypertensive.
And maybe did you, before the diagnosis and when you were experiencing these symptoms, did you have an idea that it could be one of these non-communicable diseases? Did you have any background knowledge about hypertension?
Actually, there was no clue. You see, this hypertensive doesn't pain. The normal, like, headache, you just think it is a normal headache. You just go over the counter and buy the Panadol. You go back home, it persists. You just think it's the problem that you could be undergoing. But it is a serious disease because it doesn't have signs, symptoms. And most of our people do not visit doctors periodically to check their medical status. So you can stay with that, you can work with it, you can live with it for many years before it's diagnosed to you. Otherwise, once you know it, it is manageable with the advice of the doctor and the drugs that you get, it is manageable. But the problem is to discover that disease. Yes.
And when you say that there are no symptoms, it's a bit confusing because I was almost asking Dr. Mura, what are the symptoms for hypertension?
I think I'd like to interject there and really emphasize what our gentleman has mentioned about lack of symptoms. And that's why we call high blood pressure and as a silent killer. It's a silent killer, and we all underline the word silent because by the time a patient is presenting with symptoms, you already as a medical provider, you're going to offer treatment for complications. You're not going to be treating the disease itself. And I think together with the Kenyan Cardiac Society, the Ministry of Health, there's been a lot of effort to try and create awareness. As I mentioned earlier, we have the May Measurement Month. And for the previous 4 years that we've done this screening, we've found out that 25% of patients have high blood pressure. And if we are a country of 50 million, Purity, your guess is as good as mine, that the number is really big. And unfortunately, out of that 25% of Kenyans that have high blood pressure, we have up to 70% that are not well controlled. And up to another, if out of that 50% don't even have access to medication. So we are dealing with a really big thing. And the emphasis I'm trying to make here is that it's a silent disease with silent presentation, and someone will hardly know. So the annual screening and us changing our health-seeking behavior to be more prone and more proactive towards going to check our blood pressure and our sugars, at least annually, is something that we really need to emphasize.
And does this mean that the symptoms present themselves maybe, if I may say, at an advanced stage when maybe the complications are now, because I understand it affects even the heart, the kidney. So what would you say are the symptoms really for high blood pressure or hypertension?
So precisely the point, Purity, you're saying that by the time someone is presenting with symptoms, you're already dealing with complications. And these complications will include heart complications where people can have symptoms of heart attack, including chest pain. Our gentleman mentioned earlier about having abnormal beats, which is something we call palpitations. Their heart is racing so fast. And other symptoms like swelling of the legs. They're coming in with symptoms of kidney failure, which will include swelling up. They're not passing urine well. Some of them present with stroke. And at this point, they'll come in maybe with weakness on one side. They can't move their hands or their feet. And sometimes they come in with sudden onset of blindness. And already now you're dealing with complications on the eye. So we don't really want to get to the point where someone is coming in with symptoms of hypertension, which is essentially symptoms of the complications of hypertension. We need to catch people early at the point where they really just complain that they are tired or they have a slight dull, vague headache, which essentially is just the body trying to say that everything is not correct. Yes.
And Stephen, how would you describe your diagnosis? Would you say it was made early enough, or for you went to the hospital while already sick?
Yes, I was lucky a bit because I was attending clinic for diabetes. And when I complained to my doctor and I gave him my feelings, that's when he discovered that I was having high blood pressure. And you know, high blood pressure and diabetes, they are just a sister and a brother. Once you get the diabetes, definitely after some down the line, you'll get hypertension. Yes. So it was easy because I was attending clinic, and we were taught symptoms of various diseases that related to the diabetic. And then that's when I was discovered with it.
And Dr. earlier on you had mentioned lifestyle, as the main cause of hypertension, but would you be specific on, because I know many people are asking themselves, so what causes this high blood pressure? Is it stress or or even other illnesses? Because we also, Dr. had cases of people diagnosed with COVID-19 and they end up having high blood pressure.
Very important question there, Purity, and I think it will take us back to understanding really what are the classifications of blood pressure. You can have blood pressure which we call primary hypertension, which essentially tends to happen and is very related to lifestyle, though there's a genetic predisposition. Like if someone has blood pressure in the family, your father, your mother, so maybe your risk is higher. And if you compound that with the environmental factors like obesity and lack of physical activity, high salt intake, elevated cholesterol, and other diseases like diabetes, which makes someone prone to high blood pressure because of the effects on the kidney, then your risk is higher. Then remember also there's hypertension, which is secondary, meaning it's been caused by other causes. And most of the time it's hormonal causes like adrenal hormone problems. You can have issues with the thyroid hormone problems, something as much as like pregnancy, bringing up the blood pressure. You can see someone with some things like polycystic ovarian syndrome, which essentially is like some insulin resistant sort of characteristic disease, which comes in and it increases the risk of someone having blood pressure. And it's important when you go to see a provider, and that emphasizes the point where blood pressure can happen at any age. Even children have been seen to have blood pressure from kidney diseases. As we know, kidney disease is one of the commonest contributors to issues of secondary hypertension. So at any age, I think when someone presents to the provider with an elevated blood pressure, right from children to adults, I think the first question as a doctor or the provider who's seeing this patient is, what is the cause of this blood pressure? So that if it's a cause that is secondary, then it means if we contain the issue that is bringing about the blood pressure, then we are able to control the blood pressure. But if it's primary, it means then the other factors, as I mentioned, genetic predisposition and all those other things that come into play, and this sedentary kind of lifestyle that we've adopted and makes us feel like we've really made it in life, that is contributing to all these things in something very important called like metabolic syndrome, where we are big, we have diabetes, we have blood pressure together, and then we snore at night very heavily. All those things pile up. And something I want to emphasize very, very strongly is the use of medication, over-the-counter medication, like using drugs that are painkillers called non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. These drugs are like diclofenac, aceclofenac, those drugs that treat what people like to refer to as arthritis. So they take those drugs so often that they don't realize that these drugs are hitting their kidneys, and eventually when the kidneys are affected, the blood pressure goes up. So it's nice to know even the drugs you're taking, whether they have been prescribed by the doctor, before you make it a habit, a habitual way of living.
And let's talk about the treatment options, but after this question too. Stephen, you mentioned that the hypertension, it can be managed. Maybe you can tell us what are some of the lifestyle changes that you had to make after you were diagnosed with hypertension?
Well, you can, one thing is, the first thing is medicine. The other is doing some exercises that possibly you are not doing them before. If you increase your exercises, if you lose your weight, balance your weight, although mine is still persistent. You lose your weight, it can help you.
Okay, so on the weight issue, we'll be coming back to you.
You see, with the weight,
it's a
I think a doctor can tell us.
It's a journey.
Some of the drugs that we take, diabetic drugs, I think they increase appetite.
No, that is true. That's
and
right.
they increase a lot of appetite, and they also increase weight. I don't know why. I've been trying to lose my weight, and the much I can lose is only 2 kilos per month.
He brings a very important point that some of the reasons why we put on weight and all those things can be attributed to not just lifestyle choices in terms of how we eat, but also some drugs make us put on too much weight. And the drugs for diabetes, especially the injections, are known to actually make patients put on weight. So normally for us as clinicians, it's normally a delicate balance between making sure that you contain the doses of the drug and the patient is using, still incorporating lifestyle modification, and trying to see, there are also some other drugs that are used in diabetes that actually help with weight loss. So it's normally a balance we do, and that's why we encourage patients that we really have to follow you up and be able to go through the journey together with the patient. Yeah.
And is it curable, Dr. Mura?
The hypertension.
Yeah.
So hypertension, initially I think we should have highlighted that hypertension is a chronic condition, meaning that it's a condition that results from either the vessels not complying so well, and other causes, as we said, like secondary causes are coming in. So normally if the cause is secondary, meaning it is a cause that we can identify, like let's say it's thyroid disease or it was adrenal disease or there was something that we really picked that caused the high blood pressure, most of the time when we deal with that issue, the blood pressure improves. But when it's a primary cause, then it's a chronic state, a chronic condition that someone will have. But having said that, sometimes as we say that lifestyle is a big component to high blood pressure, most of the time patients who are highly motivated, they lose weight, they exercise, they stop smoking, they are very active and they are motivated enough, we can put them off medication such that they are controlling the blood pressure with lifestyle. Because lifestyle is also a treatment. But normally we don't tell you that we are curing the disease. What we say is that we are controlling and containing the disease.
Right. Okay. And Stephen, kindly just tell us how affordable is the treatment for hypertension, because even the doctor is talking about we can only control. So is it like are you on medication for a lifetime? Is there a specific duration for the medication for hypertension? Maybe you can enlighten us more about that, Stephen.
I think it is a lifetime.
Yeah.
And the drugs are damn expensive. So it is an expensive exercise because the doctor keeps on changing your drugs. There are times when you get drugs, to a certain time, they are unable to control the disease. The doctor changes the drugs, and some of them are very expensive. And for a patient to have that kind of a disease, you have to incur a lot of money. So it is a very expensive, and it is a lifetime disease.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Mora, who is at a risk of getting hypertension? Because from statistics, it seems to be more common among men than women.
Actually, the epidemiological studies that have been done we know the risk factors that exist for people with who are more prone to have hypertension. They're the ones we call modifiable, the ones that we can change, and those are entailing most of the lifestyle choices we make, from smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, excess weight and obesity, and people who have sedentary lifestyle with physical inactivity and use of some medication that can take the blood pressure up. Whereas for the non-modifiable one, what you're talking about is gender. Men are more prone to have high blood pressure. Age, the older you get, the more prone you are to develop high blood pressure. And other factors like race. Actually, it's been found that blacks are more likely to have a high blood pressure than the Caucasians. And other things like even psychological stress, and even some genetic components that have been shown in some other conditions coexisting, like having diabetes and all those things that can exist that can still make someone be more prone to developing hypertension, which are now the risk factors. But now, most importantly, is the ones that we say that the modifiable ones. We really need to make sure we work on the ones that we can modify so that we decrease the risk of someone developing high blood pressure.
Yeah. Maybe you can take us through that, the modifiable ones?
So those modifiable ones is if you're smoking, if you stop smoking, your risk goes down. If you're overweight, if you lose weight, your risk goes down. If you have diabetes, your diabetes is controlled well, your risk goes down. If you have a sedentary lifestyle, meaning you have no physical activity, if you actually increase your physical activity. And I really, really pity us, because way back we used to be people who are going to the farm. Nowadays we just sit on the couch and watch TV, and with this age of working from home, people are doing nothing. So your risk even increases. So get out of the house, walk at least 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week. Make sure you sweat, you're walking, brisk walking, that's good enough. And the other things like making sure that you don't buy over-the-counter medication for pain, and making sure that you don't use medication that have not been prescribed to you. Those are some of the things we can deal with. And also making sure your diet, because remember, diet is what we do every day. So diets high in cholesterol, high in saturated fats, those kind of diets increase your cholesterol level, which gets deposited on your blood vessels and increase your vascular resistance, which ultimately causes hypertension. So modifying our diet into a more balanced, actually just going back to our roots as Africans on how we used to eat, but just cutting down on the starch and making sure that we don't use too much of processed meats and high salt intake. So those are some of the things we need to deal with in that and the other issues that can really help us as a nation and as a region. Yes.
And Stephen, let me get back to you. As a patient, maybe what are some of the concerns do you have? Because it's already clear that people with underlying conditions are at a risk of developing complications, especially when they contract COVID-19. How are you faring on with that and the concerns that you have as a patient?
Actually, that's a very good question. It's very scary. And actually, those people are one of them. I'm one of them with underlying conditions, two of them, hypertensive and diabetic. I got the first injection and I thought I was okay. The other one, I was supposed to get it on 25th of this month. The rumor has we are not going to get it.
You're talking about the
and
vaccine?
with our condition to get the second, because that drug is no longer here coming. And we hear there are some counties where they are holding those drugs. We were discussing, why don't they bring those drugs to those people who are willing to get the second injection rather than getting expired? They will get expired down there. So we are very scared. And more we get scared, the more the condition gets worse. Because this disease does not want you to, it wants you to be happy always, doesn't want you to overthink, it doesn't want you to have stress. Right now, our condition is getting even worse. And it is our cry that the government should consider those people with underlying conditions to get the second injection, because we are willing. Because even if I don't get it, I can die with the condition I have. So I better get the injection. That is our greatest worry.
Okay, I'll get back to you shortly, but Dr. Mura, how important it is to have early screening, you know, regular early screening for hypertension, and what does it mean if it's late diagnosis?
They say prevention is better than cure, or we say prevention is better than cure, and maybe it will keep us out of business, but that is the kind of country that we want, where maybe we are not even saying, because right now we are still battling to try and screen and get our actual statistics. Maybe if we went back to the primordial prevention, where we have government policies that ensure that the salt content of snacks sold to children are this amount, or even the salt content on processed meat in this country is this amount, that's the farther that we want to go. I know we've really worked on the smoking, public smoking policy, and but I don't think that it's really followed stringently so that passive smoking is also taken care of. And also to just try and work on those risk factors that ultimately down the river, they really get to affect our population. But yes, now that we are at the primary prevention level, I wish we could go to the primordial prevention. At the primary prevention level, we are trying to screen, and screening is better than actually dealing with complications. Then we get to catch these diseases early. We get to advise people on lifestyle change. We get to put patients who need medication on the right medication and ensure accessibility to care and quality care in this regard. Then we will ensure that we decrease the cardiovascular mortality and morbidity that we see in different health setups. And that will ensure that our country is healthy, because if we lose Dr. Mora to high blood pressure, or Purity, we lose you because you got a brain bleed, we're already losing someone who would really make a big difference in this country. And so we really need to sit down on the table and think very deeply about our priorities. Yes.
And of course, the fact that, as well put by Stephen, that a treatment is an expensive affair should be another reason why early screening is recommended, right?
Yes, the health economic burden on the country will definitely go down. This government expenditure on healthcare will go down if we really put most of our efforts on prevention than curing, whereas we're also just losing talent and human resource. We're also losing resources trying to treat our people. Yes.
Okay, Doc. And Stephen, allow me to ask you, with the times of COVID-19, there was a time that reports were coming out that patients are shying away from going to the hospital because of the risk there is contracting COVID-19 at health facilities. Is there any difference that you've been able to see or experience while accessing the treatment for hypertension as a patient?
Yes.
Like accessibility of the treatment and the drugs for you. How is it like during this time?
There was a time when we could not visit the station in the hospitals because we were scared that once you visit the hospital, you could easily get it. We almost stayed 2 months without getting drugs. Where we used to buy them, they were not available. The hospitals were closed, like Westland. Our clinic is at Westlands, where we normally go for our drugs. So for the first 2-3 months, we had a problem, but right now it is solved.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, and as we mark Hypertension Day tomorrow, Monday, maybe, what's your one call as a patient?
My call is to the government. These two diseases, hypertensive and diabetic, should be declared a national what?
Disaster.
A disaster.
Or health emergency?
Because, like in my clinic at Westlands, if I look at the patient, most of them have never even been employed one time, that they have retired. No. They're the people who go hustling around. So for those people to get drugs, it is a problem. And they must take the drugs. So it's now government to come in and assist, like they are assisting patients, the AIDS patient, the diabetic and hypertensive patient should be declared in the same category. That's my worry and my request to the government.
Yeah.
It should be declared a national disaster.
Okay. Doc, we are winding up. Maybe I'm welcoming your winding remarks, and also 25% that you mentioned, it's quite a huge number. Where is the gap and what ought to be done to stop this? Because 25%, honestly, it's huge, you know.
I think we just need to sit down as stakeholders and policymakers in this nation, right from the patients to the policymakers up there. And I think we need to really come up with a plan that will work for us as a country. And I'm really grateful that now we are giving health the importance and the emphasis that it needs to have as an important pillar of national security. So it's time, and it's a wake-up call for all of us to sit down and actually come up with a plan on how we will do our primordial prevention right from policy level, and how we can decrease the number of childhood obesity in this country that we're witnessing, right to teenage obesity and young adult obesity, how we will control our smoking and excess alcohol intake amongst our youth, and how we will make sure that we ramp up screening programs and screening centers across the nation so that people can just walk in and know whether they have high blood pressure or not. And still in that spirit, as my colleague was mentioning here, that we need to make sure there's accessibility of care and availability of drugs for all patients, regardless of their social status. And I think that calls on the government to make sure that the NHIF or any health financing program can be put in place to ensure that drugs are available, and still in the same spirit, make sure that we are screening our people at every level.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Ubrin Mora and Stephen Morocco, thank you so much for being part of our show tonight. It's highly appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's where we wrap it up here on Family Matters Show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your company. I'm Purity Museo. Have a lovely night and God bless.
Thank you.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET-approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design in soft furnishing, event decoration, flower arrangement, event planning, hairdressing, barbering and dreadlocks, beauty therapy, makeup, nail technology, spa massages, teaching skills, TOT, solo business management, and many more. Register now and visit our website on www.verabeautycollege.com. You can also call on 0725 923 550 Nairobi branch, 0728 087 689 Eldoret branch, 0722 22 7428 Thika branch, 0725 000 706 Meru branch. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, a TVET approved institution.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, greetings, Massive and crew. Welcome to the Big Bad Show. This is The Rave,
where radio meets TV each and every Wednesday.
Live on KBC Channel 1 and KBC Radio Taifa. You see me?
Listen to my radio. Here's some tune that's sweet. Dance like this. Regular dancing. Tunadunda dunda easy.
This is where we play with the latest and the greatest, from homegrown artists to international reggae stars.
Check in The Rave with Junior Dread and DJ Stano.
Every Wednesday from 10 p.m.
If you blink, you miss the link.
If you ain't going my way.
The next episode of Little Daddy.
You've never been over to a classmate's home or girlfriend's home for dinner?
Not even once.
Impossible. Haven't you ever dated a girl before?
What are you doing? What are you doing? Get back to work. You, upstairs.